Hey, we are back.
Hey,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Apologize, everyone. We had a small technical issue on our Zoom account. There were multiple sessions being run, and it just ended one of our um, sessions. But we are all good now. So please let's wait for a couple more seconds for everybody to join. Um, Again, extremely sorry for this happening. I hope we are all good, and no more things will be like this. Okay, so I think people are joining, so that's nice. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome. GM in the chat. Let's start this with the intro again. So as I mentioned, welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the previous session of David's with getting started with Starknet, and you had a chance to grab a bit of coffee. We're trying to keep the momentum going for our second workshop for today. For those who are just joining us, we are on second day of the Reignite Hackathon. We have 33,000 in start prizes across 5 different bounties. And if you haven't joined Telegram already, make sure to join the group chat. We have all the discussion happening there, where teams are forming and any technical questions you might have. I'll share that link in just a bit. Quick reminders, please use the QA section for questions during the workshop. This session is being recorded, and we will have another workshop in just 2 hours from now, building with Dojo. Now, if it's your first workshop, was about understanding the Starknet fundamentals. This one is all about speed. Let's learn how to ship dApps fast with Scaffold Stark. And I'm happy to introduce Rick, one of the core maintainers of Scaffold Stark, is going to show you how you can go from an idea to deploy a dApp in record time. Welcome, Rick. The floor is
Uh,
yours.
yep. Thanks for having me, Robert. Let me quickly share my screen. Yep. Hope you can see my screen. Is it all good over there? Yep. All right.
All good?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. So, I'm Rick, one of the core maintainers of Scaffold Stark. And I believe you get a bit of, if you join David's previous workshop, you get a bit of an introduction to this, to Scaffold Stark. Yeah, so now I'm going to go more in depth on how you can use Scaffold Stark to ship your dApps fast, in particular in this hackathon, because you're in hackathon and your goal is to ship like a working product as fast as possible. Yeah, so without further ado, so let's start. So let's recap on what you need to actually have to build a complete dApp on Starknet. So first, you need to have the Kero smart contracts, and second, you have to have like the user-facing applications, which can be a front end, which can be like a web to backend, right? So yeah, so in this workshop, I'm not going to go into details on the smart contract side of things, just a little tidbits here and there. I'm going to focus more on the front end side of things, the user-facing application. And that's what Scaffold's mainly for, to help you facilitate you in building this user-facing applications really fast. Yeah, so I will start from what kind of client libraries that we have on Starknet that you can use to talk to your Kero smart contracts. So you have Starknet Rust, you have Starknet Python, and you have Starknet JS. And so all these three serve to help you talk to the smart contracts in that you have deployed in your Kero smart contract that you have deployed to Starknet. And I'm going to focus heavily more on Starknet JS because I think that's the most commonly used framework that people would use to ship like a working decentralized application. Yeah, so the structure of like what happens when typically when you build an application of Starknet in JavaScript or TypeScript is that you would have like Starknet.js as the base client interaction layer. Then it's wrapped around Starknet React if you use React, like to wrap the logic of Starknet.js in nicely wrapped hooks. And then if you want to go use a template or like a complete toolkit like Scaffold Stark, then Scaffold Stark is built on top of Starknet React. So I'm going to go a bit of a detail on what Starknet.js is. So Starknet.js is basically like the lowermost level of like a library that will help you talk to your smart contracts in Kero. So it will do a lot of basic things for you. So, for example, account management, RPC calls, signing your transactions, utilities like parsing the data types, the address, etc. So it's a very powerful set of tools. And highly recommend you to read their documentation should you need any of these kind of functionalities from Starknet JS. And next, we have Starknet React, which is basically a bunch of React hooks that is built on top of Starknet JS to help you easily build your application on React. So you have a bit of a basic operations, like for example, you want to read the smart contract, then you can use a hook called use read contract. You have a write operation, you can use the use send transaction hook. Then you have wallet actions, for example, you want to connect an account, disconnect an account, or maybe just get some information about that account. Then you can use these particular hooks as well to do your operations. And you notice here that they are quite similar to the one in EVM, WalkMe. So they work in basically the same manner. So it's not a very hard transition if you're coming from the EVM to use Starknet React. And now we come to the Scaffold Stark part. So what is exactly Scaffold Stark, right? So I haven't gone into detail of what Scaffold Stark actually is. So Scaffold Stark is basically a complete star template, a toolkit for you to do full stack development on a Starknet. That includes the smart contracts, that includes the backend, that includes the front end. So if you use a backend, you can have backend. If you don't have a backend, just smart contracts, that's fine. Yeah, so the problem is that we are sometimes blocked by configuration or setup nightmare. You have to configure a lot of stuff. You have to set like install a lot of packages individually one by one, which is sometimes can be time consuming and redundant. So that's why Scaffold Stark is here to help you get it set up in the fewest step possible. So it's brought to life by Build Guild members and also the Starknet open source community, open source contributors. So thank you so much for everyone who helped to bring Scaffold Stark to the state which it is today, because yeah, it's an open source software, so anyone can contribute. Yeah, so it's also a framework that's heavily inspired by Scaffold Eve. Yeah, you will see a lot of similarities if you have ever used Scaffold Eve before. So I'm going to deep dive a bit on the structure of Scaffold Stark. So Scaffold Stark, we have the client-facing libraries that I mentioned before, like Starknet React, Starknet JS, and also Next.js, which allow you to write React code and also server-side code. And for the smart contract development side, we have Starknet Foundry that will help you kickstart your Kero development. So as you can see, we are a complete set of like toolkit that we are providing here for you guys. So why should you use Scaffold Stark? Like, so basically, if you want to launch your prototypes fast, just use Scaffold Stark. So for example, like this hackathon, you're building for a hackathon, you have an idea, and you want to deliver the idea as soon as possible. And you also have to divide time to build your pitch deck and to refine your pitch. So that's why to reduce the time overhead on developing, you can opt to use Scaffold Stark to help you ship your app faster. And also, if you have MVPs that you want to show to investors or people like that, then Scaffold Stark is a good choice if you want to deliver your app fast so that you can show people what you're building. And also, we have 100 plus projects built on top of Scaffold Stark, 500 plus developers onboarded by using Scaffold Stark, help them getting started on Starknet building stuff, and also 60 plus contributors from all over the world, like building Scaffold Stark, that contribute and open source PRs. So what do we offer besides this complete toolkit? We offer a better DevX. So for example, here in the smart contract call example, if you're using the command line, you have to type a bunch of stuff, right? You have to specify a lot of parameters. You basically specify the parameters, which prone to human error and might make mistakes. They might take forever to debug. So one thing that we offer is we offer a debug UI that will help you, that will reflect the state of your smart contract as you develop them and deploy them, right? So instead of having to write a command line call like this, you just have to go to the UI, find the function that you want to test, enter arguments, then send the transaction or read the data. It's as simple as that. So besides the debug UI, like I mentioned before, we have a bunch of other features. We have pre-built front-end components that you can use to help you speed up your front-end development. So example, showing your balance, showing which networks you're in, showing your Starknet ID, showing your address, truncating your address, making them copyable is all possible with our pre-built components. And also, we also offer autocomplete features that you can use to speed up your development. For example, in here, in this particular screenshot, the function that you want to put in is already kind of listed down for you. So you have to use your keyboard to just pick one of them, and you can quickly set the right function that you want to do. Right. And also, we have different wallet integrations. So we have Kepler, Bravos, Arginex, And also we have burner wallet for local development if you're using DevNet to develop. And yeah, and besides those features, we also have a set of hooks that we write on top of Starknet React to help you get up to speed with development in much simpler way. Like you see before, you saw the scaffold read contract hook, which reads from a contract. It takes in the name of the function and just the name of the contract without you having to copy and paste addresses. And also you have write operations in which you have a single write operation and a multi-write operation, which allows you to do multiple transactions in one. Apologies. Yeah, so multiple transactions in one call. And also for the wall actions, we just use the ones from Starknet React. So use account, use connect, use disconnect. And one thing that we have that is not available in Starknet React is the event history tracking. So for example, if your contract emits events like the transfer event or other events, you can use Scaffold event history to sort of listen to these events and get the logs of your contract's logs and yeah, do some data processing or indexing from there, right? So in the end, you build the features and Scaffold Stark does the rest. So without further ado, let's dive in to how we actually do things in Scaffold Stark. So as you can see, I will go through the documentation first. You can visit this documentation for a quick start, and if you want to get started like hands-on immediately. I mean, before that, does anyone have any particular question?
Um, Nothing yet. It's only just regarding the recording of the session, and to answer that to everybody, yes, this session is recorded and it will be shared later. But that's it. You can take it away.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to go through like how would you develop stuff in Scaffold Start, right? So for you have to set up your environment first. Yeah, so you have to install some stuff, which is not that much. So you just have to get your Scarp ready, and like your Kero compiler, Starter Foundry, and Starter DevNet. You can either install them individually, like install them one by one, or you can install them using the Docker container. So if you want to run Docker, in particular, if you're like a Windows user, which is sometimes not very Linux friendly, you can opt to use Docker, so you don't have any strange errors happening. Yeah. So you can refer to this guide here. I think due to time constraints, I will not go into this complete setup, but I will just show you how you can build with Scaffold Start, right? So once you get those dependencies set up, like make sure you have everything with the correct version, um, you can either clone our official repository in GitHub, or you can use our command line tool to help you bootstrap and scaffold your application. So you can run, hopefully everyone can see this. Let me just making this bigger. Yeah, so you can run npx create start latest, right? So this command will help you scaffold your project. So you already want to install your new files. I just put in reignite hack. There's a typo there. So, and what you want to install dependencies, you just say yes. And yeah, we just wait for the dependencies to install. Then we should have our project running. Waiting. Okay, now we have our projects scaffolded, bootstrap for us. So we can follow the instructions here to get started with our development, right? So first we can go to the folder. Then we want to go to our code editor and start getting our hands dirty. So I'm gonna use cursor to do so. So I'll open up cursor and show it to you guys. Yeah, and hopefully you guys can also see my code editor just fine. Right. Yeah, so in here, let's go back to the terminal. You have a bunch of commands that let you do a bunch of stuff. So first, I think what we can do is can we start a local development node or like start your DevNet instance basically to allow you to do like local smart contract development. So let's do that. Let's just copy this and we start a terminal over here and we run yarn chain, right? So when you run yarn chain, they will give you a bunch of things. So you will have some tokens pre-deployed inside, like namely ETH and Stark. And while the current version will mostly use Stark to do things like as the gas fee and such. And they'll give you like a few accounts that you can work with. This will contain 1,000 Stark, so that if you deploy or need to do anything, we can just make use of these accounts without having to fund the wallets yourself. And I'm going to quickly go through like the structure of the projects of Scaffold Stark. So you have two things. The bread and butter is going to be in this package folder. So you have Next.js folder, which contains your Next.js application, which will be your front end and your Web2 backend. So yeah, you can edit these React components and you can use these API routes to develop your front end and backend. And you have this Starknet Foundry directory, where you will manage your smart contracts, your Kero files, and your deployment scripts. So um, your deploy scripts. So in here, it's where you manage your deploy scripts. And yeah, so that's the structure of the project. So I'm going to start by trying to deploy a contract into Starknet with Scaffold Stark. Right? So when you scaffold the project, it comes with a sample contract, which is your contract, which will come with some simple functions. So you have some getters and yes, you have some setters over here. And so now let's try to deploy this contract. To deploy this contract, just have to follow the instruction over here, which is quite simple, yarn deploy. So just run yarn deploy, then this will deploy your contract to DevNet that you run just now. Yep. So just wait. Sometimes if you're deploying for the first time, it will take a while to compile your files like your via a scarp. And now our deployment is done. So you can see it will specify like what is your contract and what address is deployed to and what is the transaction that was executed that deployed this contract. And you know, there's one more thing here that's interesting is that it updates a certain TypeScript file that's called contract definitions file. So let's take a look at what that file is. So basically, this file is just like a TypeScript file that specifies your configuration. So it will store the network that you deploy your contract at. It will store your address and will store ABI. So you don't have to you don't have to copy the ABI from the Starknet Foundry anymore manually. You just Scaffold Stark will actually do that for you. So you can actually get started on the front end development immediately without having to copy those ABIs over. And now we can start the Next.js, our front end, finally. So let's refer to this command and say start the front end. So let's do that. Yep, so now we're running some front end right here. So let's go to localhost. So let's start a new tab, go to localhost 3000. And yeah, now we are shown with the front end of Scaffold Stark. Right, so we have a bunch of features here, but what I want to show you the most is the debug UI that I introduced just now in my slides. Apologies. So this is your debug UI. So you have your contract just now, which is called your contract, the address, the class hash, what's the balance and where it's deployed at. So we have the values that we set with the constructor just now, and we have a bunch of functions that was encoded in the contract. So you have here set greeting, my bad, set greeting, then you have set greeting over here. So it basically follows your contract as you deploy. This debug UI will auto adjust to follow those functions. Yeah, so will make you have a faster feedback loop when you're developing your smart contracts. So we can try to interact with this contract. So let's connect our wallet. We're going to use the burner wallet, which is one of the wallets that were listed on the CLI when you run the yarn chain command. Let's connect to the first one, and let's just set a new greeting. So hello Starknet. Right, if you send a greeting, it will complete the transaction, and you can see the value of greeting has been updated. So this way you can easily test your contract, make changes until you're satisfied with the changes that you make. I'm going to demonstrate like how you can auto adjust. So in here, I'm going to make a new function which will sort of like just spits back the reading that you give it. So it's called reflect reading. So if I do reflect reading over here, so in here you see that you have a reflect reading. It takes in a new reading. So in here we can implement the function in the implementation. So reflect reading, new greeting, then we're not writing to the state, we're just returning the greeting. So it will be new greeting. So simple as this, and it should return something. So let's have it return something. So this will be byte array, and this will be byte array, right? So let's save that and let's redeploy, and you will see like the magic. Wait a second. Okay, now we have like redeployed a new contract. As you can see, it updates the type that ABI file again with the new address. And when you go into your UI, you can see that. Let's refresh this. It seems that it's like so here we have a new reflect reading, which is reflected here. And yeah, this is how you can iterate through your functions when you're developing and your smart contract. So it will just auto adjust. And I'm going to walk you through the hooks of Scaffold Stark. So So we're going to try to edit our homepage right here. So here's our homepage. Let's try to edit that. So yeah, so now we will go to page, which corresponds to our homepage. So here it is. So I'm going to show you some of our hooks that I introduced just now in the slides. So I will start with trying to read some data from the contract. So let's start from reading that your contract reading. So constant data. This will be use scaffold read contract, which is this one. What you can do here is you can specify the contract name that you want to read. Contract name. Then also, of course, you can also specify the function name, which is reading. Actually, you can see here that there's like the auto complete. This doesn't come from cursor, so if you use VS Code, this will still be there. Yeah, so now that we have this read contract set up, it should read the data from the greeting. So we want to expect that, oh, there's an error here. It says just client, so let's fix that. So this is like a Next.js thing where you cannot use client components without specifying that. So you want to show this particular data building unstoppable apps. So yeah, so let's just rename this to current reading so that it's better. We can see what that actually is. And yeah, we can put it here. So in here we have we put like a private instance where you can do show the value, and this is red because you have to convert this byte array value into string. So let's do that. To string, you can see here there's a question mark because it might be undefined. So that's why the question marks are here. So if you go back to the home page here, you can see that the greeting is there. So building unstoppable apps. And so I want to also demo writing to the smart contracts. So if you remember, there was like a function that was called set greeting. So what this function does is that it will change this greeting message. So let's do that. So we can actually use one hook that's called use use scaffold write contract. Then you have a contract name here. To your contract, I'll let that AI do the autocomplete for me. Then the function should be called set reading. Then arguments, it will take in a bunch of parameters. So let's say hello, read 9. Right. So and okay, I think you should take one more parameters, which is the option. So with this, we can use new option. So this now. So that set some not option is async set read. Okay. So okay, I think like this. Let's import this. So import. Okay. And is actually option. So here is support option. Okay, so apologies. I I didn't remember the syntax, so let me search it real quick. So options Starknet JS. So the option is like actually in this is the Starknet JS parameters. Let's see. Here. Okay, so you have to specify the so hero option. So hero option sum. So this should be option variant sum. Should be none actually, because we want to specify anything. Let's remove that. Okay. So this should be unknown. Oh, actually, it's actually just 0 is fine. So there you go. Now, okay, so okay, so here's the greeting. So it should set like the thing to none. So when you set this particular greeting, let's create a button to do so. So when you set the greeting, it should set it to hello rig. Right? So let's try to do that. So if we go to the home page, you see the button here. Let's connect our wallet. Then if you set the greeting, it completed successfully. Then if we check the state, let's refresh. It's hello read night, right? So you can set the use the hook to write to contracts, and we can do multi writes. So for example, if I want to send a particular amount of Stark to another address, let's say I want to send another Stark, apologies, to this address, this second address right here. I want to send like, for example, like 10 Stark. So normally you have to approve, then you have to do the send operation. So that is quite there's sometimes in your typical EVM setup, you have to do it twice. You have to do approve and you have to do send. Right. So in Starknet, you can actually do all of them at once. So in here, send send Stark. So you can do something called use scaffold multi-write contract. The contract name is actually Stark because we are sending it from the Stark token. Then actually, let's import that. So it's imported here. Contract name is Stark. Calls. So that calls will be a bunch of calls at once. So let's say we want to actually do some calls. So when you transfer, actually, you don't have to approve, right? So not, what I'm going to demo instead is like, let's say if you want to set reading and transfer at the same time, right? So let's do that. So, so let's say we have, we just copy this over here. So we're going to do these two transactions in one call. So hello reignite, let's put it as two so that we can tell the difference. Then we want to transfer to some other wallet. So the one that I want to transfer to is this. So let's copy it over. This would be a string. As example, send 100 Starks, then just times 10 to the power of 18 since it's encoded in GUI, which you have to which you have to convert into like you have to multiply by this particular to represent decimal places. So let's do this particular function. Let's put the button over there. So button on click send Stark. So when you click this button, it will send some Stark tokens to the other address, to this address. So just connect the wallet again. So you have 999 Stark. So we just send some Stark. So now we have 899 Stark. And if we use the other wallet, which is that wallet that I showed you just now, that is located in the second. Oops, sorry. So it should have an extra 100 Stark. And now the greeting is also changed at the same time. So this is like one of the powerful features of Starknet where we can do transactions simultaneously. And yeah, so next I'm going to go through some events. So we can try to list some events. So let's use this scaffold hook history to sort of track our transfer event because usually when you transfer an ERC20, they will emit a transfer event. Use scaffold event history. So this will take in some arguments. So it's like contract name. So this will be Stark. Then event name will be, let's see, should be a transfer event. Not this one, should be transfer. So bear in mind that this is the syntax a bit long. This is we're looking to fix the syntax so that it will be simpler. We just show transfer. So we start event name. Then we have to specify like the block range that you can want to scan these files in. So from block 0, then we can just use say to block latest. And yeah, well, oh, I see it's not here. From block n, and that's it. Then you can also you can easily list down the events. Then let's just console log the events when they got printed. So if we just console log the events, then we can show like the events, like what happened, like you can get the logs of the events. So let's refresh our application. And since we're console logging, let's take a look at the console. Let's refresh. You can see there's like a bunch of events that got listed down. So yeah. So here's like the arguments if you like burn tokens, anything. So these are like the event logs. Transfer event. Value. Normally you have to like filter like the events like to find which what are like the arguments, what kind of data are you looking for, right? So usually you have to just study the events and what you specify the smart contracts, and then you find the event so that we can extract this kind of events from the smart contract. And so there's like a quick tour of like all the hooks that you can use, like most of the hooks that you can use in the Scaffold Stark. You can find more hooks in the documentation if you need like specific features. Yeah, so after that, I'm going to show you how to deploy your smart contracts to Sepolia. So let's try to deploy smart contracts to Sepolia. So we also offer deployments. You can directly deploy Sepolia or mainnet, and you can also deploy the first cell. To do that, you will have you can use network Sepolia like this. Yeah, but however, you need to fill in, make sure the wallet that you're deploying to, you have like some funds and you have some private. You have to set the private key inside the environment variables. And note that this will be like a bit. It's like don't never show you private keys in your environment variables. Like don't accidentally commit them to your repositories. It'll be quite dangerous. So let's use our Argent wallet to deploy. So yeah, so let's see. We have an account that has some funds inside. There you go. This account has some funds inside the Sepolia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy over the deployment, the private key into the environment variable. I'm going to deploy it to Sepolia for you. So I'm going to bring this down for a while so that we can keep the private keys private. There's my cursor. Just gone. Cursor. My cursor is gone. 1 second. Okay. Which I use Visual Studio Code instead. It's the same. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in like the environment variables. In with the private key, you should be able to find like what should you fill there inside the environment variable in the repository because it's commented. So I'm going to fill in the environment variable. Then yeah. Then I'm going to bring
I
it back up.
uh, sorry, I what did it say? Like I don't think we see but we see it now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I was filling in the private key. Apologies. So that's why I kept it like hidden because private keys are quite sensitive sometimes. So you have to be careful when you're sharing those stuff. Yeah. So I was filling in my private key. So my environment variable now has like the private key of the Sepolia inside. So now if you want to deploy it to Sepolia, you can just run yarn. Let me just zoom in so you can see yarn deploy network Sepolia. So it will like sort of try to compile again. Just wait.
In the meanwhile, there's a question if you want to take it.
Yep, maybe we can answer in the meantime. Like, what's the question?
Yes, the question is if I'm building a dApp that uses multiple smart contracts, how does Scaffold Stark help me to keep everything organized and working together smoothly?
Yeah, so if you're building a dApp with multiple smart contracts, some of that probably you're writing it by yourself. So yeah, so if you're organizing smart contracts, you can still debug them when you debug your as normal. But most of the cases, sometimes if you want to build a dApp, you want to have like a copy of someone else smart contract that's already deployed on chain into your own dApp. You want to incorporate the ABIs at least right there. So actually, Scaffold Stack has a feature to do that. So if you click configure contracts here, you'll actually see like something that will allow you to extract contracts. So if you, for example, you switch this network to Starknet Sepolia, you just have to enter the deployed contracts address and the contract name, sorry, and you just put in the contract address here in Sepolia. You can easily bring over like the contracts from Sepolia into your local development as an API. So you can easily still interact with that particular contract, which is particularly helpful if you want to develop and want to integrate with other contracts that already exist in the blockchain. Yeah. So let's fix this. So it's not working. Right. Suppose let's check our contract again, make sure nothing's wrong. There seems to be some issue here. deploy contract. It's not function. What's the error? Deploy scripts. Okay, so let's make sure that our deploy scripts are correct. So you can deploy to DevNet. So it was fine. Let's try again. See if that works. Right, so it seems to be like some issues on our end. So we will get it fixed as soon as possible to get you guys up to speed working with Sapolia. And also one more thing that we can do in Scaffold Stark is you can actually directly deploy to Vercel. So for example, here, if you just type Vercel in your repository, you can directly deploy to Vercel as your front end. So you can directly deploy from the command line of your repository. So let's try to deploy this. Right, that's not good. That's not good. Okay. Okay. We said, okay, seeing that my internet's not working, let me try another connection. Sorry about that. Let's try second. So if you see these errors, usually mostly because your internet is like not connected. This is the case with my internet now. My bad. So let's try to.
In the meanwhile, I think Rick will connect and he'll be back in just a second. So stay tuned. And yeah, we see you. Welcome back, Rick.
Yeah. I'll try to deploy to Vercel now. Hopefully that works. Yep, there you go. So it wasn't showing. So let's try deploy to your own project. You don't want to link it, so to deploy a new project, we hack.
Rick, can you hear us? Your audio is a little bit bad,
So
I
it's
think
actually
maybe
deployed
because
now.
of the
So the code
internet,
is looking. You can
but
just leave this. Can you hear me now? Hello.
yeah, now it works well. Yeah,
Okay, cool. So my screen is fine, like everyone can see, right? Yeah. Well, my
yes.
screen is all good. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, so the directory of the code you don't have to specify. You just enter. You have to modify, keep it the default. So let's wait for it to deploy. So usually these Vercel deployments, they will take around 2 to 3 minutes, assuming like no errors are happening like on your TypeScript side of things. Yeah.
In the meanwhile, maybe I can ask you a question if that works.
Yep, sure. Yeah, sure.
What's the most difficult part of building like a full dApp overall from your perspective? Like which parts kind of like are more difficult and which would you like like what type of suggestions would you have here?
Is it in terms of like technical suggestions or like the non-technical ones, whatever you refer to?
You can view it from both ends, so you can view it from both ends.
Yeah, actually, right now, you know that like you have things like using Cursor, you can use Cloud to build AI, and you have tools like Scaffold Stark to make your life easier to build these applications, right? So actually, most of the time, what will be more difficult is actually scoping out your features, like what you want to build, actually refining the architecture of what connects to what connects to what connects to what. That's I feel like that's like the hardest things. So that's like most of the things that we do in the beginning. Then once you start to like have these unknowns resolved, then I think you have like a much easier time building because you have all these tools to assist you with the actual building process itself. It's just like now the most important thing that you have to take care of is like your idea and your architecture and your integrations and then what you want to connect, consider the cost, consider how easy to integrate, how easy it is to get support, and etc. Yeah, so mostly this kind of holistic things I feel like are more difficult than development itself, unless you're developing a very something like that's like very technical, for example, like some infra or like some cryptographic stuff. Then I feel like that one you have the technical process is also equally difficult as like the ideation process. That's what I feel personally. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah. So continuing, so we have managed to get our apps deployed. So actually, if you visit this particular thing right here, you actually have to log into Vercel to see it. Yeah, so if you have a Vercel account, you can just log into it and see your projects. But this indicates that you have successfully deployed your project to Vercel. And since just now that we have like some issue with the internet, so maybe we can try deploying to Sapoli again to see where that's caused by the internet problem as well. Yeah. So,
In the meanwhile, if there are any questions from the chat, feel free to ask
yeah.
them either in the general chat or in the Q&A, and we will try to answer as best as possible.
Yep. And so if anyone needs like any help, please do consult the documentation on can drop in the chat, join our developer chat. Yeah. Okay. Let's try again. I think if this okay, I think yeah. Seems like my internet is a bit unstable. Just now like a pop-up came by. Yeah. And also like do join. We'll be also in the Reignite group chat. So if anyone needs any help, you can just tag me or tag anyone from the Scaffold Stark team, like in case you run into any issues or in some clarification on things. Yeah. Yeah. Apologies for the for this issues. So yeah, so currently still couldn't get it to work, but we'll take it to look at it and get it delivered like so that you guys can start deploying to Sepolia as well and get it tested there. Yeah, so I think for the tour of the Scaffold Stark itself, I think that's the end of it. So, so if I continue to the slides, so that's all I have for you today. And you want to enter the developer chat of Scaffold Stark, feel free to scan this QR code. And then I think Robert has shared you in the chat, which things that you can use to actually refer to when you run into problems. Have a good time building with Scaffold Start, and hope you guys get good results from your hackathon. Yeah. So I think there's
Thank,
one question here, and let me just answer that. Yeah. So can you use Starknet PY and Starknet JS in the same project? Yeah, you can, just probably not in Scaffold Start directly. You might have to do some extra configurations to get these two working in the same time. Yeah, so it's Starknet Python and JS. Yep.
There's another question in the QA. How would you recommend using Scaffold Stark to prototype a decentralized bridge interface for Bitcoin connecting BTC to Starknet with security in mind?
Bitcoin. Okay. So definitely for us, Scaffold Stark, you have to just quickly write the smart contracts. Yeah, so we kind of abstract like this. Scaffold Stark is a very high level framework that it will help you to develop, right? So it will facilitate your smart contract. So the logic of smart contract itself, that one really entirely depends on you. That's why we said that is the focus is on building the features, not on the configurations. As long as you manage to architecture your components, your contracts properly, and also make sure they're secure, and and make sure the contracts work, then you can integrate the project just fine. Apologies, apologies beforehand. I'm not really familiar with the Bitcoin the bridging stuff yet. So yeah, I'm also still learning myself. Yeah, but yeah, if you want to do Scaffold Start, then it basically whatever smart contracts you write, we can help you. You can debug it using the UI and yeah, get them deployed. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rick. I think there was another question regarding the session recorded. Yes, these sessions are recorded, and we will show these sessions later in the Telegram group chat. Again, thank you, Rick, for showing us Scaffold Stark and how you developed your dApp so much faster than the traditional way. Key takeaways, you now know how to bootstrap a full dApp quickly, which is kind of like perfect for a 2-week hackathon timeline. What's next? Take a break. We have roughly 1 hour for our next workshop at 4 p.m. UTC. Join us for the Introduction to Building with Dojo. This is the perfect workshop if you're thinking about building on-chain games and also participating in the bounty. And if you have any questions on Scaffold Stark, drop them in the Telegram group channel or join the developer channel that was shared here. Thank you, Rick, once more and one more time. And thank you for the viewers for joining. Keep building. And remember, teams are already forming in the Telegram group. So don't miss it out to find your perfect team member. See you soon and see you in 1 hour. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.